Hi. As always, welcome to another edition of Community Office Hours here at Moderne, where we go over everything that is new in Open Rewrite and Moderne in the past week, and dig deeper into a topic of our choice. So I'm Tim Beek, and with me here is Sam Snyder.
Hello, everyone.
And yeah, we're gonna do a very quick overview of some of the things that caught our eye that we want to highlight here in this session. But I'm going to show you a couple of quick tabs. First off is that we're going to be at Spring.io at the end of this month. That's coming up where I'm doing a session together with Jonathan Snyder. He finally got into Spring.io. I think he's been trying for a couple of years. And every time he was beat out by me a couple of years ago and then someone else before that when he worked on Micrometer. So yeah, it should be good to finally have him there. And then we're going to have some fun. So should be good. But before that, I have another session that I'm going to be doing with a good friend of mine. You've seen him on the show here. It's Rick Ossendijver, where we're going to go into more of a workshop session. It's 4 hours long. So if you want to learn how to use refaster templates or create recipes with Open Rewrite, then be sure to go to JCon. And if you need help getting a ticket, let me know. I have a couple to give away. And then on the Wednesday there, I'm also doing a new talk. So that should be exciting. You'll get a brief preview here next week when we dive into this exact topic. And then, yeah, from there, see how things go. And then another nice thing that came about that we already know about here at Moderne, but it was highlighted on LinkedIn over the past week, wherein we're now doing a collaboration with the folks at Walmart to help show what you can actually do with Moderne at scale. The nice thing about this is that, of course, it shows that there is really no limit to what you can do at scale, because companies this size, they really can benefit from a platform like ours to do any kind of modernization or security fixes that they have to do. And they're calling it out themselves as well, that they're really pleased with this type of collaboration. So go check that. I shared the link so that you can have a look there. And then apart from that, we had some new videos come online this week. One of them, you can meet me. So if you're wondering like what else I do here, then there's a new video on YouTube you can go watch. Like how it turned out. I have learned that you should be careful what faces you make when the camera is rolling, but it's nice to just have a bit of fun with it. So
it's authentic. If the camera catches you looking a little goofy, it's just authentic.
Just don't pause the video. It's not my best. And apart from that, there was another session that I did last fall, which came online past week, where if you want to see me do a very quick run through using the CLI to modernize a very old application, you can see that just online in this, I think, 13-minute session. So it's nice and brief, something to just see what you can do with the tools that we offer here at Moderne. So really neat. Go check it out. That is part of our larger playlist on YouTube of industry sessions. If you go to this one link, you will see all these sessions that have come online from various user groups over the past years, even. Then you can see all of them here in one place. So be sure to check it out if you might want to dive deep into something that was shown maybe at a conference a while ago. Then you can find all of that here. The one very new thing that we merged just a couple hours ago is a community contribution, where they were looking to use the data tables that we already have Moderne, but now also be able to export those to our Maven plugin. So if you are running a Maven project and you want to maybe try out the data tables that we have, there's a new snapshot build that you can use to actually get those produced into your target folder. Now, this works on a single project. So if you want to try things out and see the results, that's a really great way to do it. And of course, after that, you can scale it up with Moderne, where if you go to our data tables, page, you can find exactly what you can do and how you can create those tables and what recipes already have data tables. Such that if you want to see things across various repositories, that is the way to do it. So I've shared that link as well, so you can now go have a look. That's a very quick overview of what is new this week. Did anything you want to add to that, Sam?
No, I think that was a pretty comprehensive list. Yeah, there's some changes coming up in Open Rewrite to look forward to. But yeah, I think that's all that's been released. So yeah, let's carry on.
Perfect. Yeah, then, like I said, we're going to dive deeper into one particular topic this edition. And that topic is something that is very dear to my heart. That is contributing to open source software and now using Moderne to do so. Now, if you've ever gone to my GitHub profile, you can see a nice big green bar, which tells you two things. One is that I love contributing. One is that I should take a couple days off more often, I think. Because you can see that there's a full bar going across the years.
That's too many days on the weekend, man. those weekend squares should be a little bit grayer.
You can see, like, I hurt my ankle somewhere starting of November, and I kept
just coded more to compensate. Yeah.
Just if you can't go out, then you can amuse yourself when you're inside. So
yeah.
But it's fun. This is something that I love doing, where, of course, with Moderne and Open Rewrite, we're developing tools and recipes to help modernize projects. And there really is no better way to try them out than to run them across the project. So that is what I do whenever I find like a spare moment or something I want to try out. I'm going to take you through how you can do the same, because all these tools are available to everyone with a GitHub account or a Bitbucket account, where you can just go to app.moderne.io and there log in with your credentials. And then you're landing on this page, which is our current landing page, where you can see all the recipes that we have. And very near the top here, you can see that you can run some close to 2,500 recipes against some 36,000 open source projects. So really, if you want to contribute something to the world, then this is, I think, the way to do it. And first off, what I want to show you is just a small selection of recipes that we have that I think are going to be worthwhile for open source projects. And most of them fall under the category of best practices. As you know, a lot of software projects have a rich history to them. They've maybe come up 10 years ago, 15 years ago. And over time, you can see that they have maybe not adapted all the best practices as new versions of libraries or frameworks or Java versions came along. And what we have here is a collection of recipes that will help you rectify that by applying these to the projects still. Now, what I would like to do is, before I make any pull requests, is to reach out to projects and just ask if they're open to any such improvements. And typically, you'll find that they're happy for any help, especially if you do it in a focused manner. So if you take a subject, you dive deep into maybe some testing improvements, and then from there, what pops up if you run a recipe against a project. So, as an example here, we're going to look at maybe a migration to AssertJ. And for that, we have, of course, a recipe, which is composed of other recipes still. And maybe it's neat to show what it is composed of in our new recipe builder, where you can see that not only do we have this wrapping recipe, but it's actually composed of a lot of smaller steps that you can see broken down here, where we migrate Hamcrest first to AssertJ, if it's in there, any projects there. We also migrate any JUnit assertions to AssertJ, where we have a lot of recipes there as well. We ensure that you're using static imports for AssertJ, such that there's only one way to do your imports. And we optimize any chains assertions, such that you're not checking if the size of a collection is 0, but you're checking if a collection is empty, such that you have more idiomatic use of AssertJ, even if you've already adopted that library. So that is, I think, a really neat collection. And once in a while, you'll come across a project that very much wants to migrate to AssertJ, but also that hasn't migrated yet. So recently, on my rounds of doing these types of improvements, I applied first some JUnit best practices to the Apache Shiro project, which they have adopted and merged. And then, as we were discussing, I found out that they have exactly one test using AssertJ, which is, of course, a bit odd to have a dependency and a single test to use a different testing library. And as we were discussing that, you could find that, yes, indeed, they wanted to switch to AssertJ at some point, but they just never got around to it because it is a lot of work. If you plan to do this by hand, you're never going to get started because there's this limited value in spending hours and hours on this. But if you can do this very quickly, then it's a great improvement for the readability of your test.
Totally. Yeah. Back at a previous job, I once made the mistake of trying to upgrade the version of checkstyle we use to a new version. And by the time I was done, I had manually made changes in 5,000 source files because even just updating the new version, it found new violations for the old rule set. And thereafter, I swore off. I'm like, I'm never going to do that again. That was not worth it. But now with
Absolutely.
automation, with recipes that can help with these things, that would be much more tractable. And I might even reconsider the vow I made to myself to never do an upgrade like that again.
Yeah, because with these automations, it's only a fun thing to do. I mean, you need a particular type of mind to enjoy it without automation, where it's just you make things zen by migrating. But if you can do it in just a couple of minutes, that is pretty neat.
Mm-hmm.
And so very important first is get that buy-in from a project before you actually start doing these automations and start sending out things to other folks to review, because you don't want to overwhelm any reviewers. But in this case, Benjamin had already indicated that they're very much interested in that AssertJ migration. And also in this thread here is Brian Demers, who I met at DevNexus, and we had dinner together, and he also indicated that yeah, the AssertJ migration is something that they very much would want to have, but just never got around to. So with that buy-in, we're going to look at how you would actually do that migration using the Moderne platform. And for that, like I said, we're going to first find that recipe, select it here.
Can we zoom in your web browser just a little bit, Tim?
Absolutely.
Yeah, thanks. Yep.
And you can see here that we have the recipe selected, but we want to run it specifically against one project. And for that, we're going to use the sidebar on the left, where if you're not too familiar, we have some documentation pages on getting started with the Moderne platform. That's on docs.moderne.io. And then under platform, the getting started, right? And also a video that shows you this if you want to have it in like a snappy couple minutes section. So go to that page if you want to learn exactly how to do this specifically. And then for, in this case, Shiro, we're going to create a custom user group. For that, we go to the organization selector. And from here, you can create a user organization. And we're going to select Shiro and only Apache Shiro. And we're going to add that to a user group named Apache Shiro. I'm not being very creative here, but this works well. And now you can see that we have selected that one. And if we close that dialog, then we see that now it suggests that we can run this single recipe, which is composed of other recipes, against just the one repository in the Apache Shiro organization. And that is really all you need if you want to maintain a single project through this builder. Is you create a user group, and then you can select recipes and run them and start to see a preview of those results. This usually takes no more than a minute, but yeah, we're going to see how it's at in this particular case. Because of course I've done this migration just an hour ago, and then it was actually just under a minute. So we'll see how this works. I'll meanwhile try to pull up previous results if that is an option.
Yeah, you should be able to use the activity view to get back to a previous run, which if you did it an hour ago, it will probably still be available. when we're storing the results of recipe runs, they live transiently on the worker processes that execute the recipes. The idea being, there's no need to have a really ancient recipe result stored long term. If you want the result again, just run the recipe again.
Absolutely. And you can see that the first results are already coming in. So this is it's a larger project where we partition the way we run across it. And it's actually done. So we have some 99 results across some 1,260 files. In summary page says 1 minute. So it took us 1 minute and 14 seconds for an estimated time savings of 8 hours. So that is really, and that's showing this across one project. Now imagine if you have a couple hundred or a couple thousand, then this type of time savings really start to add up. And what we can do here is we can get a preview of what these changes would look like. And I say preview, so as Sam already indicated, we keep these results in memory, but you can scroll through them and see everything that has been changed. And in this case, you can see that a lot of these formerly assert true assertions are now using assert that and then is true. Is equal to and assert equals or similar to replaced. In this case, the way that we assert the exceptions are thrown, all of that we convert for you. So that is very neat. But what I like best about this type of view is the length of the scroll bar on this side, where you can really see that there is a ton of these types of changes that have already been applied for you. Optimizing imports, just replacing things.
I'm already exhausted thinking about doing this manually.
It's very neat to see this at scale. I remember building these recipes, I think last year in the fall, and then just running them. And like I said, you build separate recipes for the Hamcast migration as you do for the optimizing the way AssertJ is used. And then those community ran with it, have started expanding on what I already built, and now we have all these recipes. And you can see that anytime we reach the bottom, you can load more results, and it skips up again, and it is endless. So this is really neat. You can use this to preview what you have, but really the proof is in the pudding. So you want to make this into a commit that you can check out before you actually send it out. And for that, we have a big button on the top right where you can choose to commit these results. And if I click on that button, it opens a dialog with a number of options. So if you look here, then there's a number of options, but for me, the commit directly won't work because I'm not a committer to Apache Shiro. I also can't create a branch, but I can create a fork. Now, this is the option I like best because it doesn't send out anything to anyone else, but it does create a branch on my personal fork of this project, such that I can check things out and see if they work well. So that's what we're going to do. And you see it fills out some details on the branch name and commit title based on the recipe that you ran. And that is enough to actually turn this into a commit. So we're going to see how that works in practice. Where it's now going to fork the Apache Shiro project to my GitHub/Tim2Beek account. And from there, create a branch, split off from the main branch with the one commit being this migration to AssertJ. And while this is running, we can already check it if it's created. And for that, I'm going to open a separate tab. You can see it's created now. So you can see that we have my personal account, GitHub/Tim2Beek. I can zoom in a bit again. And we've created a new branch for the refactor AssertJ best practice. And if I click here, you can see the exact same changes that were already in the preview earlier. And then from here, we can check this out in our IDE and see if it actually works. So with that, I'm going to briefly switch to my IDE. And here you can see that we have the AssertJ branch of the Apache Shiro project. And in here now are all the changes that already have been committed to the project. And what we can do here is a quick compile with Control F9. And it doesn't even open a window. Yeah. Well, you can see that it does all compile as it should be. And we can see that all the changes have been made to the various classes. So if we copy this one and we open it up, you can see that this indeed now uses the AssertJ assertions, and it actually compiles. So that is very neat. What I did find is that I had to make some very small adjustments. But I think we're going to have to roll into improvements to these recipes, where in rare cases, it ended up with 2 cases of an assert fail method. So the JUnit variant wasn't cleaned up, and the AssertJ variant still needed to be inserted.
So what you're showing right now is a diff for a change you made manually on top of the recipe run output. Yeah, I tend to think of these like mass automated migration recipes as like a train that picks up speed, because someone does a first version of the recipe and that gets 40-50% of the migration done for you, and then you add in the next biggest thing that's missing and it gets a little bit more and then a little bit more. As you iterate on that process, the automation train goes faster and faster as you get ever greater percentages of the thing automatically migrated.
Yes, absolutely. And that's also why we like to start small with something that gets folks over the hump of getting started. And then we see that the community picks it up. And we had a really nice example just yesterday where we have a migration for the Apache HTTP client 4 to 5, where we thought it was pretty much complete. But someone found that it worked really well, but it missed just 3 small changes to the order of some arguments. So he immediately opened a pull request with those missing changes and just said, well, thanks a lot. And here's the last things you need. And now we can fully automate that change. So that is really neat to see in practice when you just review the contributions that come in. So yeah, with these small changes, and there were another couple odd ones where we needed an AssertJ dependency on the compile scope for some integration tests. We now finally have the project fully compiling with AssertJ. And then the next step, of course, is to actually run things. So we're going to use the Maven daemon to actually try to run all the unit tests that we have in this project in parallel. I really like that one. If you've never used Maven D, then absolutely look into that one. And what you will find is pretty underwhelming. Whereas we made all these code changes, they work very well. But we are offending some of these check style rules that are in this project. That's always the slightly disheartening part of contributing to open source software, where every project has their own standards that you need to conform to. And in this case, we're doing a worthwhile improvement, but they're also using a tool that is not as kind as the tools that we help develop to actually make the code change for you. No, instead, it's going to yell at you. It's going to yell at you that you made 4 small errors according to the check style specification that you now have to go find and fix manually. So I'm not going to put you all through this, but this is, I think, worth showing that this is the type of things you might run into when you start to do contributions.
I instantly resented this kind of linter the very first time I got an error message that was like, on line 46 in column 13, you missed a space between the if and the opening parenthesis. And I was like, if you know so well where the space has to go, just put one there for me, please.
Absolutely, yeah. And that, of course, is exactly what we now do with Moderne, where we have recently written a blog where if you go to the Stop Breaking CI blog that we have, there we actually show you exactly how to set things up so that you get helpful suggestions that you can one-click apply instead of having something yell at you at worst with a big red cross in GitHub Actions. And then your entire flow is broken. You have to go back to your IDE and fix things there. So that is something that we still have to fix, but we're not going to fix this on the video call here. It's just something to be mindful of. But I think what's really neat is that we have shown here that we're able to make some, I think, 1,500 changes to Apache Shiro. And then with some last minor touches, we're able to fully complete that AssertJ migration and create a pull request and get that up and running. So yeah, that is what I like to do when I find some time to do it. But it's even more fun when you get buy-in from a larger project where you're then allowed to do this at scale. And I had a nice collaboration with the folks at Apache Maven somewhere last year, where we took some of the things that they want to be doing there in modernizing the Apache Maven codebase to move away from some of the patterns that predate even Java 8. And recently they held a vote and they're going to move to Java 17. And that will mean that we can continue with a lot of the migration efforts that I started somewhere last year. And we can now scale up through this platform with the recipes that we all know and love to upgrade projects to Java 17, adopt language features there, and all of that. And what's
cool. Are you going for a leaderboard, Tim? You're going to try to have the most contributions of anybody on GitHub this year?
Yeah. I know someone sent me a link that I'm like in the top leaderboard for the Netherlands. I know I yearly get a shout out on Twitter that I'm on the top contributor to Axon framework. Someone who does not work at Axon but is contributing there. So I really should, yeah.
What's the Axon framework? I'm not familiar with that one.
Axonic, that is the company behind it, and they developed the GitHub Axon framework. That is this one, where it's if you want to do CQRS in Java and on, using this framework, then it's very convenient.
Cool. I'll check it out.
And then, of course, I'm a contributor. Not in the first list, but I'm definitely on there.
We'll have to get you submitting more PRs here until you're at the front. Until every GitHub repository has your picture on it, then we can rest.
I'm doing well. I just need to take more time to actually do these kinds of changes more often because it is a ton of fun. Like I said, yep.
And a lot of it is just is the people aspect, right? Depending upon how you use a tool like this, you could either be seen as very helpful or very annoying by the people in this project. There's only ever so far you can go with using technology to solve people problems. So you gotta meet people problems with people solutions, and then once everyone's on board, then the mass PR campaign enabled by automation. Otherwise, they might just be like, why am I getting spammed with PRs out of nowhere? Who's this guy who has so many opinions about how my code needs to change? It's easy to engender resentment, and automation can scale benefits as well as annoyances. So, as with any powerful tool, use it responsibly.
Absolutely, yeah. So, in my case, I made a mistake in the past of just sending a PR without getting that buy-in, and then it just gets shut down. Folks maybe don't even want to look at automated code changes unless you get to know them at a conference and you have a conversation. And even last year at last week at DevX France, I ran into a friend of mine who runs a framework called Job Runner. If you don't know that one, it's a very convenient way to automate jobs in Java as a framework. So have a look at that one. And what we went through in just a break during the conference is how we can both run recipes for this particular project. And I started some branches here that we can adopt. And then also how we can automate the change going from the version 6 that they have to the version 7 that they just released 2 weeks ago. So really just using that personal connection to dive into recipe running and the recipe development to benefit all the users of that particular framework. So that's one aspect of my job I really like, where you can just show off what we have and have folks be appreciative of what we can do.
Yeah, it's nice to feel like you're helping.
Yeah, absolutely. It's so it got me into this field and into the open source contributing. And that brought me
absolutely. Me too. Yeah, I got into developer tools because I found it more gratifying to fix a problem that my colleagues were having with their development environments than it was to fix something for our customers of the company I worked for at that time, right? Like my coworkers are real people who were right there, and the customers were a bit more abstract. So once I found I enjoyed that, I just veered more and more into developer tooling and trying to help with the problems that software developers have.
Yeah, absolutely. It's very recognizable, and also maybe what advocates for putting developers in contact with customers, such that they feel more in tune to what the customer actually
Absolutely,
needs, and try to help them out.
absolutely.
And we do that. Luckily, we do that well here at Moderne. So
Yeah.
we're very in tune to what everyone needs.
Yeah.
So then for Apache Maven, I've been doing some contributions whenever I find some time. And one thing that I have yet to share with the folks there is that we have now also a developer center, DevCenter for short, where you can track progress towards certain goals. So we set this up for our customers, and they can slice and dice this for maybe departments or technological stacks, where they can choose to track anything they want really in one of these panels, and then also get a blue button to help them actually move along in the goals that they're tracking. So for Apache Maven, those goals might be to migrate projects from Java 8, where they're still on, to the Java 17 that they just adopted, I think, a month or two ago, after a lot of discussion on the mailing list, where you can see that there's a large gap to fill. There's some 76 projects still using Java 8, even though they agreed to go to Java 17 2 months ago. So this is something that we can, of course, automate with the big blue button here. And that will take you to the results when running the Migrate Java 21 migration for the entire Apache Maven organization. So I won't run this now because we're not going to use these results. But it's also very handy when you look at things that they are looking to do, like move projects to the latest version of their parent forms. For that, we have a button which will take you to the visualization of all the various parent forms that they are in use across the project, and the various versions that are in use. So you can see that ideally all the projects are on version 42, but in reality you see a big spread of older versions lingering that we probably want to move away from. And that's really what we can do here with the Moderne platform with a single click on just this button or this button to do it for plugins or for larger components. And that is just what makes contributing to Apache Maven very easy for me nowadays. Because you go to the dashboard to see what needs to be done, you go back, you click to run a recipe, and then suddenly you have a PR that you can send off to the folks to actually move them to the newer version of the parent form. And if a dependency is then since been managed, it will actually strip that version out as well. So pretty neat to have that capability. And then, of course, this is what I love to do when I find more time. And then we're going to coordinate with the folks a bit more on what changes they're actually looking for and in what order. As for that, and they have a wiki page where you can see some of the cleanup mechanisms that they're planning to do. So if you want to be helping out here, then probably the first thing to do is to figure out through the platform if it is something that is very common and needs a lot of automation to help you make those changes. Or if it's just in one or two projects, maybe then you can do those changes on an individual basis without technical recipes. So this is something that I can go through from time to time to figure out, well, how many projects are still using this Plexus container, and what would be the code changes needed to move to the alternative. And from there, affect those changes, ideally with recipes, and get off that code. And then, of course, every time I make recipes for this particular project, I contribute those back to the Open Rewrite project as well, such that we now also have a collection of Maven best practice recipes, which you can also run on your own projects, where you get some of these improvements applied to your projects if you are using Apache Maven. So the neat thing here is that even the Apache Maven project itself doesn't conform to all the best practices that they propagate. So that's something to probably pick up with them still. And it handles about adding missing group IDs, which would be helpful to be more explicit about. It's also some reordering in elements in the XML file. So really a lot of different improvements that we could make to this project, just with a couple clicks through this platform. And then, like I said, we have this for Apache Maven, but we can customize those developers center dashboards for other organizations as well. So for Jenkins CI, we have a friend of ours who is doing these type of recipes, but then on some 2,000 Jenkins repositories. You can see that there's nearly 10 million lines of code that are being managed through this Moderne platform, where if they want to upgrade to newer versions of the plugin parent POM or upgrade to newer Jenkins versions, they can do so through this platform. Just a couple buttons on this dashboard, which anyone can really use quite easily. And you can start to create PRs when you have that buy-in from the project itself. So really neat stuff. And then we also do so for Spring. And you can see that we've customized the goals that we track yet again, where in this case we're tracking upgrades to Spring Boot 3.2, which at the end of this month will be 3.3. And in this case, allow folks to do those migrations without a lot of manual work. So, like I said, a lot of these recipes I contribute back to the project. And for the Apache projects, those flow back into the Rewrite Apache project that we spun off recently, where you can find all the recipes that are specific to Apache projects. In this case, we have some recipes for some of the common slang dependencies that they have. For the HTTP client, we have recipes. For the Maven shared details, we have some recipes. And we lumped in some recipes for Plexus dependencies as well, which are part of that Apache ecosystem of dependencies. So if you have anything to modernize in that particular space, you'll have a look at that Rewrite Apache project that we have set up for this purpose. And then beyond that, if there's anything that you think would be a good fit for us to adopt and maybe give a space to open source contributors to write their own recipes and share them with the wider ecosystem, we have set up a repository for new collaboration proposals. And if you go to that particular repository, we have a template that helps you out in filling out exactly which project you want to integrate with, what your own affiliation is, what your motivation is to make these recipes available to the wider ecosystem, and maybe some additional context. If you've discussed this with me at a conference or you've brought this up on Slack or a different issue, you can add some details here. And this is a really great way for us to know that there is interest in getting a particular project supported through this platform and the ecosystem of migration modules. And from there, pick that up and give you access rights and everything if you want to help maintain a particular project through recipes and help users to migrate between versions in this way. So really neat. And then from there, it's like I said, we have some docs if you want to know more about how exactly you want to run recipes through the Moderne platform, or maybe use some of the visualizations that you saw or customize a dev center. As always, if you manage a particular community of open source repositories, reach out and we can help you set up a dev center in particular for your organization. And I did so just the other day for all our friends that are also part of the Common House Foundation. So if you know anyone at if you want to help maintain Hibernate or Jackson or JBang or JReleaser, Morphia, Open Rewrite, all of those you can now select in the Moderne platform and help send us pull requests for things and improvements that you want to apply there. We're always very surprised when folks use our own platform to contribute to our own to our recipe modules, but it is very much appreciated. So if you find anything that we haven't found yet, by all means, let us know. Run those recipes, create those PRs, and maybe reach out via Slack first. But yeah. Go have a look and let us know what you find. And then beyond that, I think we have some similar collaborations here that we started the past week. Where we're going to look into automating the migration of the Jakarta EETCK from the Acrylion that they're using to a more modern way of testing their applications. And all of that, again, is going to be using the recipes through Open Rewrite, contributed through a module that we deployed to the Moderne platform to help affect code changes there. So that's really neat. And yeah, I look forward to seeing where that will lead down the line. That's pretty much all I wanted to share on this topic. Is there anything you want to add to this still?
No, I think that was great, Tim. Yeah, I mean, we look forward to tools like Open Rewrite and Moderne, kind of making the whole open source ecosystem better for everyone who participates in it. I think we all kind of look forward to a day when the onus, the responsibility for dealing with breaking changes, shifts from the users of libraries and platforms to the maintainers of libraries and platforms. Which, if you are the maintainer of a library or platform, as we are, that might sound initially oppressive, or like, wait, you want me to do more work? But I think there are benefits on both sides of that equation. Because it's certainly been my experience as a software engineer that the first time I build something, I don't know how to do it very well because I haven't done it before. So the first version that gets released has an amateur's understanding of what the API should be like. And then I'm immediately confronted with the dilemma of, well, now because I've done it once, I know how to do it right. And I see the things I did wrong, but my 1.0 release is out there and a bunch of people are using it. If I improve this API, now that I know how, I'm going to be causing problems for all of all of my hard-won users, and I don't want to subject them to that. But the alternative is leave them with the worst API that I made when I didn't know what I was doing. So I see there's a lot of potential for automation and recipe automation to help resolve this tension, to help make it so that the creators of libraries and platforms can innovate boldly and with confidence that when they change their API, they won't be engendering resentment in their users for trying to improve it. So I look forward to a future where every major library upgrade comes with a refactoring recipe that gets you to the latest version, and everyone is happy, and there's sunshine and rainbows 24/7.
Yeah, absolutely. It's surprising. Of course, we have customers and they bring in their projects, and you can see that this is far from a new project. It's a new problem. We can still find patterns that are maybe 10, 15 years old that still need to be migrated because there was no automation to help them out.
Absolutely.
Now that we have those options, it's really neat to see them lift and leap towards the latest versions with confidence and automations.
Absolutely.
And in turn, the maintainers of those libraries and frameworks, they can focus just on the latest version and getting you there.
Right. You don't have to support this don't necessarily have to support as long a range of, as long a long tail of versions. I mean, how nice would it be to after you make a bug fix, you don't have people keep reporting that they're running into it because they're still on older versions, right? I spent a lot of time debugging problems that I've already solved before.
And so it's the first thing we ask is, what version are you running, and is it the version we released yesterday? And
yeah, exactly.
If not, then update now.
Let's try that. Yeah.
And we see hints of this being used more and more in our public OSS Slack as well, which anyone can join. Where just yesterday we had Microsoft show up. They're gonna probably rework the API for an SDK that a lot of folks are using. They want to have everyone on that latest version, such that they can actually unplug the old version and have automation to help folks there. So really need to see what that's going to go.
Yeah.
And then we'll explore that
if you
more
work at
version.
if you work at a company that spends a lot of money for support or for some product that has software components that you have to upgrade. Tell them tell them that you want open rewrite recipes as part of the next version. Tell them when they tell you what breaking changes are coming in the next version, say, that's great. How are you going to fix those for me with an open rewrite recipe? I look forward to adopting your new API as soon as you automate my migration to it.
Absolutely. Don't let them get away with just offloading that work to you, but yeah, just tell them that they could automate it, and we will gladly help them to do so. Yeah. So then a very quick look ahead at next week. If you go to our YouTube channel, you can see that we're gonna next week talk about reading your microservice landscape. And there's this quick button you can click to get notified on when it starts next week, which is really helpful to not miss that when it comes out. And then this is a subject that I'll, like I said, will present at JCon. And it just looks at the various ways where your microservices will, over time, drift away from each other, because a lot of it is copy and paste, and you can see those changes over time and how your practices evolve, but maybe don't flow back to older projects. And this is a quick look on how you can use all the automations that we offer to get all those projects onto latest versions, latest ways of working in such a way that you just don't have to mentally switch your model when you switch between projects. They will all be very similar.
Keeps things simple.
Yeah. So look forward to that next week. And then, until then, hope to see you in Slack or in issues if you want to know more. We can help you out.
Yeah.
So that, thank you all for attending, and we'll see you all next week. Cheers.
Have a great week, everybody. Bye.
Bye.